Hi Cosorians, my name is Chef Ashleigh and welcome to Cooking with Cosori. Today we're going to be making crispy fried chicken in the air fryer. If you'd like to become part of the Cosori family, just hit the subscribe button, and for more cooking videos like this, just hit the bell icon. So the first step in making super crispy fried chicken is going to be to salt your chicken and let it sit out at room temperature for about a half an hour. That's just going to let that salt soak in and kind of start the brining process a little bit early. The next step is going to be to make our marinade or our brine. A brine is just a liquid or a dry rub that's going to help imbue the chicken or whatever meat you're cooking with salt so that it maintains its moisture while you're cooking it. If you don't have buttermilk around, which is going to be our first ingredient, what you can do is combine 1 tablespoon of an acid like vinegar or lemon juice or even yogurt or sour cream with 1 cup of whole milk. Let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then you've got your own homemade buttermilk. So that's going to be the first thing we add to the bowl is 2 cups of buttermilk, and then I have 1 egg and 1 egg white. That is going to help bind together the skin and the breading. I have a kind of interesting ingredient. We have 2 ounces of vodka. Now what that's going to do is help to make our chicken crispy. It inhibits gluten development and helps create a crispy skin. After that, I have a little bit of hot sauce just to create some spice, 2 bay leaves and some fresh thyme sprigs, a pinch of black pepper, and a nice big pinch of salt. Maybe 2 pinches, maybe 3. So I'm gonna whisk all of that together and then add in my chicken. So after you have your marinade all whisked together and your chicken has sat for 30 minutes, you can go ahead and take your pieces of chicken and place them in the marinade. So for best results, you're gonna wanna let this sit in the refrigerator overnight, but you can get away with 2.5 hours to 3 hours. You're still gonna get that nice flavor that comes from all the thyme and all the spice from the hot sauce, but it will be better if you let it rest in the refrigerator overnight. The next step is going to be to make the breading for the fried chicken. So this is a little bit of a different take on it. We're actually gonna be using half flour and half cornstarch. Cornstarch is really great when you're frying things in the air fryer because it gets more brown than flour on its own, and it also inhibits gluten development, so it keeps the breading crispier than just plain flour on its own would. The spices that I'm using are what I like to put in my fried chicken. Now you can tailor these to whatever kind of spices that you prefer. If you don't like a spicy fried chicken, then leave out the paprika and cayenne pepper. You can always add in celery seed or different kinds of chili powder. There's all kinds of different varieties of fried chicken that you can make so that it's your own. So first I'm going to add 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of cornstarch, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder and 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 tablespoon of paprika, 2 teaspoons of cayenne pepper, and 2 teaspoons of chili powder, 1 tablespoon of dried oregano and 1 tablespoon of dried thyme leaves, and finally 1 tablespoon of kosher salt and 1 tablespoon of ground black pepper. And then I'm just gonna whisk all of that together until it's very evenly distributed so that you don't have pockets of garlic powder or paprika, and just make sure it's nice and even. So after your chicken has been marinating in the refrigerator for 2.5 hours or overnight, it's time to take it out. And the first thing we're gonna do before we bread it is start draining it. So we're gonna take our tongs and put our chicken pieces just into a strainer, or you can even use a wire rack fitted over a sheet pan. So we're gonna take all of our chicken out and just let some of that excess buttermilk drip off. So after some of the buttermilk is dripped off, we're gonna take our chicken and start to bread it. So it's nice to have a breading station set up. So you have your chicken on your left, your breading in the middle, and then a plate or again a sheet pan with a wire rack fitted onto it over here to set your chicken on once it's been breaded. So I like to keep one hand clean, grab your chicken, and then you're gonna dunk it into the flour and cornstarch mixture. And just make sure that you get it completely covered with the flour. That way you get it in all those little crevices and on top of all the skin, so you get that nice crispy craggy texture. So once it's breaded, set it on your pan and then go back in to your next piece. And just keep doing this until all your pieces are coated in the flour mixture. And you always want to make sure that you tap off any excess. So you can just shake it or tap it on the side of the bowl That way you don't have big clumps of flour that stick to your chicken. So after you've gotten all your chicken breaded, we're gonna let it sit at room temperature for another half an hour, just like we did at the beginning of the recipe. What this is gonna do is allow that breading to dry out a little bit so that once it goes into the air fryer, it gets crispier faster. It also allows the meat to come up to room temperature so that it can cook faster and more evenly. So I've preheated my air fryer to 380 degrees for 5 minutes. Now it's time to put in the chicken. So I'm gonna put it in skin side down. That way, after we flip it, the skin side is up and gets crispy for the final cook. So let's see how much can fit in there. You don't wanna crowd your chicken into the air fryer basket. You wanna give it a little bit of space between it. So it looks like I can get about 4 pieces in here, and then we can do a second batch for the other 2. So I'm gonna put the chicken into the air fryer for 12 minutes at 380 degrees. So after the initial 12 minutes are up, we're gonna take a look at our chicken and see how it's doing. So we've got a little bit of floury parts here. So what we're gonna do is actually take some oil. I have grapeseed oil here, but any neutral flavored oil will do. So we're gonna just spray those little floury parts with our oil, and that's gonna help it to brown and crisp up. The great thing about air frying is that you don't have to use very much oil, but you still do need a little bit just for that browning. Now we're gonna flip our chicken over and just check for more floury parts. Give that a little spray, and then we'll go back into the air fryer for another 8 minutes at 380 degrees. So the chicken's done cooking. Now it's time to temp it. So I'm gonna take it out of the air fryer and set it on a plate. And then grab my probe thermometer. A digital thermometer is great. It gives you a much more accurate reading. And we're just gonna stick this into the thickest part of the meat, away from the bone, because that's gonna throw off your reading, and just make sure that we're up to 160 degrees. You can then let the chicken rest, and it'll carry over cook for the rest of the 5 degrees, so it's at 165. This looks good. We'll take the rest of it out. We've got a nice crispy skin, golden brown color, and all those nice craggy areas that are just full of flavor. The wonderful thing about air frying chicken is that you save all of that fat from the oil that you would normally use in deep frying it. So it's a lot lower in calories, but you can still get that crispiness. Let's taste it. It's so good. It's super juicy on the inside, nice and crispy on the outside. We've got that spice from the breading and from the marinade. And overall, it's just a great, great piece of chicken without all of that grease. Leave a comment below and let us know what your favorite fried chicken side dish is. Mine is buttermilk biscuits. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. If you're looking for a chicken recipe that's crispy and delicious, I think this is gonna be the one for you. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.